This week on Navy Marine Corps News, our coverage of the Arctic Ocean continues, how sailors are helping to protect an endangered species, and a historic look at one of the most proficient snipers. Those stories and more on this edition of Navy Marine Corps News.
From your worldwide Naval Media Center team, from Pier 168, this is Navy Marine Corps News.
Welcome to the program. We have stories from Sasebo, Japan, San Diego, and continuing coverage from the Arctic Ocean. I'm Petty Officer Matt Oldham.
And I'm Sergeant Phil Grondin. Before we get to those stories, here are your headlines ashore and afloat for the week ending Wednesday, April 11th, 2007. The commander of the 1st Marine Division will present the Navy Cross to the family of Lance Corporal Christopher S. Aldisberger on April 13th for his actions during the Battle of Fallujah in 2004. Aldisberger died a month after his actions during combat operations. The Navy Cross is the second highest military medal of valor in the naval services. The Marine Corps created a new regiment focused on tracking and assisting wounded Marines and sailors across the nation.
The mission of the Wounded Warrior Regiment is to provide and facilitate assistance to wounded, ill, and injured Marines and sailors and their family members throughout their phases of recovery.
The establishment of the regiment marks the first time the Marine Corps oversees tracking wounded troops under one command. The Commandant of the Marine Corps, General James Conway, and the Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps, Sergeant Major John Estrada, visited Naval Support Activity Bahrain and spoke to members of the Security Force detachment stationed there. The two top Marines answered questions and provided feedback to troops about deployment issues, equipment, and other important concerns, and thanked the Marines for their service. The Commandant also spoke in Kuwait and Fallujah, Iraq. Those are your headlines ashore and afloat for the week ending Wednesday, April 11th, 2007.
Last week, we took a look at Ice Exercise 2007 in the Arctic Ocean, where two submarines, USS Alexandria and HMS Tireless, conducted training. Both submarines practiced tracking, maneuvering, and surfacing through the ice. What we didn't see was where 40 people lived, worked, and controlled the testing, all on location. Petty Officer Steve Smith was on the ice and shows us a place called Apples.
While the submarines maneuver silently below the ice, there is much activity above it. The Applied Physics Laboratory Ice Station, or APLIS, is built on an ice floe about 10 feet thick and 200 miles away from land. The purpose of APLIS is to control all submarine testing in this harsh environment.
It's the only place that we can actually have this environment. This environment doesn't exist anywhere else in the world, but here in the Arctic. You can simulate it, you can pretend, but you can never really get the full impact of it until you're there.
ICEX 2007 testing is controlled at the heart of the camp in the command hut.
348 West, over.
We also do the communications with personnel at the camp, aircraft, either a helicopter or planes coming in, and then underwater comms.
But it's not all business.
This is like going to summer camp in the wintertime. We're all just a bunch of folks trying to get a job done and enjoying what we're doing.
Everything is flown in, from food, fuel, and prefabricated panels of plywood and insulation used for construction. All the huts have heat and power. And for fresh water, you mine it. In the mess tent, 3 hot meals are served daily.
It's nice. Fresh meat.
Love the food. The 2 meals I had, but they're good 2 meals. They weren't boat food.
The food was amazing. Those 2 ladies back there did a great job.
The camp also has its own taxi service for trips out to the surfacing sites. On the edge of camp, 2 Naval Postgraduate School students work on their thesis by sending probes underneath the ice floe.
There you go, got the end. Okay.
Definitely different from anything in San Diego, that's for sure. It's definitely a lot colder than San Diego.
It's a great place to work and a great place to be. Not to say that it's not like that back home, but it's to an extreme here on the ice.
All that activity on the ice that keeps submarines working and the camp operational comes to an end with the dwindling of daylight. Reporting from the Arctic Ocean, I'm Petty Officer Steve Smith, for the Naval Media Center.
More than 21,000 Marines and 12,000 sailors are serving on the ground throughout the world. Many are serving as individual augmentees. Before they're sent in country, the IAs receive specialized training. In our next report, Petty Officer Andrew Krause shows us some of the training they receive before they ship out and go in country.
Individual augmentees at Camp McCready, South Carolina are finishing up their training.
Today what we did was pretty much towards the end of the training where we combined everything as far as convoy operations, communications, first aid, land nav, pretty much everything that we actually been over the past 2 weeks, and we combined it all into one field exercise, which is called convoy operations.
The day began with a land navigation exercise.
Land nav's going pretty good. We've been a few meters off on a couple of our targets, but we've been very close on most of them.
Anything, Master Chief? It's got to be around here. We're on the slope like the thing said.
Some groups surprised their drill instructors on how well they did, while others are still learning.
Some people did good. We had one group that actually got 4 out of 4 points. So that's something that we didn't really expect them to go out and do, you know, like the Army does, but they did a pretty good job on it.
Next, an actual convoy operations exercise.
We try to give them a real live exercise as far as what they're going to be doing once they get into theater, as far as convoying from Kuwait into Baghdad.
Here, sailors must deal with situations they may encounter in their near future.
On that part, they did pretty good. I give them an A on that.
Wolf, this is Navy 5. Did you copy my last?
Now that this training is over, it's time to pack up and get even more training. However, this time, it'll be a long ways away from home in the Middle East. For the Naval Media Center, I'm Petty Officer Andrew Krause.
If you would like to volunteer as an individual augmentee or are just curious about the program's benefits, see your command's IA representative.
Oil, its impact on our daily lives, from the plastics we use to the gas we put in our cars, is quite evident. For the country of Iraq, oil is even more important, since nearly 90% of the country's revenue comes from oil, both on land and from platforms at sea. In the waters of the northern Persian Gulf, Navy ships are protecting the Iraqi oil platforms, keeping them safe and operating as the Iraqi people continue their rebuilding efforts. However, the lead ship here isn't the biggest ship in the fleet, but on this part of the Gulf, it's the biggest dog on the block. Petty Officer Chris Robinson went aboard USS Underwood and shows us how this ship's bark and bite keep this neighborhood safe.
Reveille, reveille. All hands heave out and trice up. Now reveille.
The typical job for Navy frigates is to help protect the carrier in the battle group. However, for USS Underwood, in this neck of the woods, its job this time is different.
Our main objective is for oil platform defense, ensuring that the oil platform isn't compromised by enemy forces. We are here to train and assist the Iraqi naval forces to reduce the U.S. naval presence around the oil platform.
The bridge and CIC monitors the presence around the platforms. And today, a new oil tanker arrives in the area, and the call is put out for a boarding. Underwood's boarding team gets the call to investigate. The team gets the briefing about the ship and her crew. Then, it's off to investigate. The crew arrives and gets permission to board. The first step is the most dangerous one. It's getting aboard and setting a security perimeter. After the safety of the crew is assured, it's off to meet with the crew, look through paperwork and visas, and ensure it's safe for them and the oil platforms.
We just tell them, we're here for their safety, because not everybody's out there to be a bad guy. They may unwillingly have been used as a bomb, so we come out and check them out and make sure they're safe.
This tanker checks out. In a week or two, it'll hook up to the oil platforms and unload the oil. Oil that terrorists want to disrupt, and oil that Iraq needs.
They are a very large contributor to the gross national product of Iraq, the oil is, and which make them a very large target for terrorists.
Of course, with all that, USS Underwood must concern themselves with one other problem: the sea floor. There's about 25 feet of water below the ship's keel. That's why frigates are successful in this part of the Gulf.
Frigates are ideal based on our size. We have a smaller draft, and this is obviously shallower, very condensed battle space up here, very small. Being a smaller platform, we're very capable.
From boarding parties to ship navigation, USS Underwood demonstrates its capability daily, and for as long as it's in this neighborhood, this block captain is about keeping it safe. From aboard USS Underwood in the Persian Gulf, Petty Officer Chris Robinson, Navy Marine Corps News.
Navy Marine Corps News will return after this. As we all may know, Earth Day will be celebrated on April 22nd, but the Navy strives to practice good environmental habits year-round. In our next story, Petty Officer Aaron Hebner shows us how our shipmates in Jacksonville, Florida are helping to protect an endangered species.
The right whale is the most rare whale in the world. Experts estimate there are only 300 to 350 left. Off the coast of Naval Station Mayport, Florida, a critical habitat area for the right whale, lookouts aboard the USS Doyle are on watch, of course to protect their ship, but they're also on the lookout for the northern right whale.
A lot of the whales from a distance could even look like a ship. If their tails aren't out of the water and they're not spouting, it looks like a submarine.
That's why the lookout watchstanders must be qualified and go through a marine mammal training program on board the ship.
While in the area, we want to maintain a slower speed. We are required to only use the speed necessary to complete our operations.
When a right whale is spotted, the ship records the location and sends it here. The Navy's Right Whale Call Center.
Fast Jacksonville Bristol is 1/5 speaking, ma'am.
Calls come in and the information is documented and sent throughout the fleet to all Navy and civilian vessels operating in the area.
The Navy, the Army Corps of Engineers, and the Coast Guard donate up to $140,000 of aerial surveys a year for emergency warning system that is out there looking for these right whales every year.
Whether civilians are searching in airplanes or our ships at sea are on the lookout, the mission is to protect this endangered species.
To have one killed by a ship strike or an entanglement is detrimental to the population as a whole.
And even if the Navy efforts only help save one whale, it's all worth it. For the Naval Media Center, I'm Petty Officer Aaron Hebner.
For more information on the right whale and the Navy's environmental efforts, be sure to check out the April edition of All Hands Magazine.
As Marines and sailors, ever wonder where the weaponry and technology we employ today comes from? In our next report, Petty Officer Kat Smith takes us to the Navy League's Sea, Air, Space Exposition in Washington, D.C., where the defense industry and the military meet and tomorrow's technology is born.
Senior Navy leadership participated in the Navy League's annual Sea, Air, and Space Exposition April 3rd through the 5th in Washington, D.C. This year's motto was Sea Power to Secure Victory. First up on the list of discussions was Sea Power and America's Security. Over the last year, the Chief of Naval Operations, Admiral Mike Mullen, has traveled around the nation to meet with Americans and discuss the intricacies of the Navy. Out of this, the CNO and senior military officials are developing a new maritime strategy.
We're working hard on a new maritime strategy. I believe we're in a new era. It's a dangerous era and that we need a new maritime strategy.
32 of the nation's states are bordered by major bodies of water. 90% of America's commerce is received through our seaports. All of this supports the need for a secure and strong naval force. Next, Navy leadership spoke about shipbuilding procedures, ship design, and long-term goals. Secretary of the Navy, Donald Winter, spoke about why he thinks evolving and building the fleet to sustain readiness is important.
The national security of the United States depends on our ability to meet our presence and surge requirements. So we must build and maintain a fleet that meets these objectives.
To further our future success, the CNO often meets with foreign dignitaries. During the exposition, he discussed how hosting the nation's allies contributes to the long-term goals of the Navy.
That's all part of this construct of a 1,000-ship Navy, which is tied to global maritime partnerships, and it's far beyond navies. It's navies, it's coast guards. We've reached into the commercial sector, we've reached into the trade sector. The whole idea is to provide security so that commerce can flow, standards of living can both be supported, and indeed there are many places in the world that they need to be raised.
Deputy Assistant Secretary of the Navy for Shipbuilding, Allison Stiller, brought it all home, summing up why all of these initiatives are so crucial.
Our mission remains bringing the fight to our enemies and winning the global war on terrorism. The increasing uncertainty of other nations' ability or desire to ensure access in a future conflict will continue to drive the need for naval forces and the capability to project decisive joint power from the sea.
This exposition wasn't all about seminars. More than 150 corporations set up exhibits showing off the latest in technology and design. They had everything from aircraft and weapons to gas masks and simulations. For the Naval Media Center, I'm Petty Officer Kat Smith.
Now here's Petty Officer Oldham with your fleet information.
Fleet and Family Support Centers, along with Navy Knowledge Online, have made available a series of individual augmentee handbooks for commands, sailors, and for families. The handbooks are continually updated to maintain the most current information on the dynamic global war and terrorism environment. Log on to the NKO portal or Fleet Family Support Center online for the latest information. Direct Line, the website owned and operated by MCPON Joe Campa, has undergone a 6-month renovation project and is now available for viewing. The new Direct Line upgrade offers users the opportunity to communicate with one another and with the MCPON. Campa said that he wants sailors to have an open door, but also wants to stress that most issues, if not all, can be handled at the deck plate level or by a chain of command. Visit www.directline.navy.mil to find out more. After months of testing and validation, there are significant changes to the Marine Corps Marksmanship Program. The changes will be implemented for all Marines and recruits required to conduct Tables 1 and 2 of the Marine Corps Marksmanship Program. Shooting time limits have also changed. Every Marine is urged to learn more by reading MARADMIN 225/07. Stay tuned for more Navy Marine Corps news after this break. Since 1941, the United Service Organizations has been supporting military members, offering morale and recreation opportunities to those in uniform. They have presented performers such as John Wayne, Marilyn Monroe, and of course, Bob Hope. They also offer creature comforts like a hot cup of coffee or a quiet place to write a letter home. And as the method of choice for sending letters has changed from post to internet, the United Service Organizations still maintains the same mission. Petty Officer R.J. Marida shows us how the USO in San Diego is supporting the forward deployed service member.
On the home front in San Diego, this is a makeshift factory of support. The hand sanitizers, grooming kits, and calling cards on this assembly line are part of Operation USO Care Package. The boxes will eventually leave this warehouse and make their way to troops about to deploy to Iraq and Afghanistan, as well as those on the battlefield right now.
I think it's very important that we say to all of our armed forces serving overseas, we aren't forgetting that you're there, we're with you, and we're thinking about you. There is a personal note in every single care package that we distribute.
Some of the active duty volunteers stuffing care packages are veterans of the Iraq War. Sailors like Hospital Corpsman 3rd Class Daniel Jacobs, injured by a roadside bomb while on patrol in Ramadi in the Al Anbar province.
After the blast went off, I managed to save myself, work on another Marine, save his life, and bring another Marine back to life with the assistance of another corpsman.
Petty Officer Jacobs wants to go back to Iraq one day, but today he is here, making care packages for those he can't serve with in person.
While we were over there, we got a lot of care packages from different organizations. And I realize how much of a difference it makes while you're getting these care packages. It just shows how much the community really reaches out and cares.
And on this day alone, Petty Officer Jacobs and the other volunteers stayed until they reached their goal of 10,000 packages, and more will be on their way. The USO says since February, over 1 million packages have been sent to armed forces overseas. From the Fleet Public Affairs Center Pacific, I'm Petty Officer R.J. Morada.
Gunnery Sergeant Carlos Hancock, United States Marine Corps. His legendary reputation as a sniper made it a no-brainer when the Marine Corps was looking to name a new state-of-the-art marksmanship facility in Miramar, California. Seaman Derek Sanchez takes us to the dedication ceremony and shows us how this shooting range and its personnel will instill the next level of pride within the Marines.
Miramar Commanding Officer Colonel Christopher O'Connor dedicated Rifle Range 101 to Gunnery Sergeant Carlos Hathcock, the legendary scout sniper. Every Marine recruit learns about his accomplishments during basic training.
But truly, he was dedicated to marksmanship fundamentals. You know, if he was alive today, he'd tell you whether he was on the rifle team, whether he was coaching Marines, whether he was sniping. Basic fundamentals of marksmanship was his key. And that is exactly what we train and teach Marines here. Basically teach them the fundamentals of marksmanship and how to apply that not only here on the range, but on the battlefield. And so it's only fitting as we go into the 21st century with this kind of facility, state-of-the-art facility, to name it after somebody that really focused on the fundamentals.
The dedication ceremony was a chance for friends, family, and fellow Marines to honor the memory of Gunnery Sergeant Hancock.
The whole goal with my father's legacy and his shooting was that hopefully the Marines and the sailors that do utilize this complex get the mentality that the one shot is what counts, and to try to make that shot count no matter what they're doing. It was an honor to be able to be a part of this on my father's and my family's behalf.
All Marines know about Carlos Hancock because he's a Marine Corps legend, someone we learn about at MCRD Paris Island or San Diego. His life story reads like a Hollywood movie script. What isn't known are some of the facts of his life beyond his 93 confirmed kills in Vietnam. In the following biographical report, I tell you more about his other accomplishments and what some Marines think about his legacy. Carlos Hancock went to Vietnam in 1966. There, he distinguished himself and showed he had the stuff legends are made of. He is officially credited with 93 confirmed kills. Some biographical accounts state that he actually had 400 kills, although this number remains unverified. In one of his more famous missions, he crawled 1,000 meters over open terrain during a 3-day period while pursuing a North Vietnamese Army general. In 1969, the armored vehicle he was traveling in struck a landmine. He sustained burns over 90% of his body, but that didn't stop him from pulling 7 Marines from the burning wreckage before taking inventory of his own injuries. Hancock rejected any commendation for his bravery. 30 years later, he was awarded the Silver Star. After Vietnam, his efforts were directed at establishing a scout sniper school at Marine Corps Base Quantico, Virginia. In 1975, he was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. Carlos Hancock passed away in 1999. His legacy, however, lives on. Many Marines are still talking about him.
In boot camp, I had a drill instructor, range time constantly, reading the stories from One Shot, One Kill about Carlos Hancock's exploits during the Vietnam War. And as you were saying, how he just set the precedence for when you think of Marine Corps sniping, you think of Carlos Hancock. He set the bar.
For the Naval Media Center, I'm Sergeant Phil Grondin.
Receiving extra cash while stationed in some exotic part of the world can be a great benefit of the Assignment Incentive Pay program. Seaman Vivian Shepard shows us that along with the added monthly bonus pay some are entitled to in Sigonella, there's a little more to sweeten the deal when it comes to being stationed in that region of Italy.
Nestled in the hills of Sicily is a town known for sweetness. Of its chocolate, that is. With over 120,000 visitors packing into Modica for the opening weekend of the annual chocolate festival, it can lead a person to wonder, what's so special about Modica's chocolate? Graziella Minardi helps run a pastry shop in Modica. She explains what makes it so unique.
The Modican chocolate is particular because it is prepared cold. It means the temperature that is used to produce the chocolate doesn't reach 40 degrees. It means this permits us to melt the cocoa mass but not the sugar crystals. Therefore it is particular.
This special chocolate is only made in 2 parts of the world, Modica and Mexico. Modican chocolate is not only made differently from others, but it's also a little healthier.
You know that in modern chocolate, let's say, they add lots of things which are not only cocoa mass and sugar. It is more healthy because we don't add anything. We have just cocoa mass and sugar and the flavors, natural flavors, which can be chili pepper, cinnamon, and all the others.
Visiting this sweet city was a first for some sailors, but one sailor said it was an enjoyable experience.
It was great. Brought my wife and kids down because they like chocolate, so we had a good time.
Although the festival only takes place once a year, chocolate lovers can travel to Modica anytime to purchase this famous treat. Seaman Vivian Shepard, Sigonella, Italy.
For more information on the Assignment Incentive Pay program, see your Command Career Counselor.
That's Navy Marine Corps news for this week. To get more news and information about the Marine Corps, visit marines.mil.
And for photos, stories, or the latest news, go to Navy.mil. Plus, you can download video news, radio news, and vidbits in podcast format. For everyone at the Naval Media Center, thanks for watching. We'll see you about the fleet.